we were just talking about the Dark Knight Rises, so here we have our own real life reincarnation of a Batman villain. Gavin Newsom, everybody clap it.
Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah. What's up? How you doing? You know, they say you either die the hero or live long enough to watch yourself become the villain. And as much as I like to clown on the bureaucracy that is California and how it's somehow the most liberal place in the world, but it's just filled with bureaucracy and red tape that makes it impossible for it to be the actual version of it hopes to be. Hollywood, you get what I did there? When there's an opportunity to praise them for their forward thinking and capacity to look out for the little guys, I think it's super important that we, give people their flowers before they get buried. Too many people get flowers for the first time at their funerals. And while we can't control the wind, we can definitely use a sail to take us to where we want to be. So let's hear how California's governor, Gavin Newsom, has helped the little man and women in Hollywood by pushing back on the AI tropes that have quickly come to consume social media and all of our medias now. How it's going to affect the Hollywood and how it's affecting small actors trying to make their way through the bristle and the smoke. So California governor signs legislation to protect entertainers from AI. Washington, September 17th, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed 2 bills into law Tuesday that aim to help actors and performers protect their digital replicas and audio-visual productions from artificial intelligence, the governor's office said. Why is this important? While the presence of AI in the entertainment industry can be tracked back to decades ago, recent groundbreaking advances in generative AI with robots now make music and digital pop stars have divided opinions in the industry. This is a great clarification because there's no way you actually I would say even in the moment we were able to go digital with most productions, the people that are sitting in the stands of Star Wars movies aren't hundreds of thousands of actors. Speaking of The Dark Knight Rises, the football scene is not real. The stadium wasn't blown up. All those people sitting in the stands weren't really there. They're all artificial intelligence or like keyed in backgrounds. And we have digital artists that are designed to do that. And that's not what we're particularly targeting. What we're targeting is productions who throw in artificial intelligence or use it in place. The first movie that comes to mind is that Civil War movie where they take a screenshot of Chicago. Basically, they put for their poster, they asked for AI generated photo of Chicago. And anyone who's from Chicago could quickly tell that buildings were misplaced. One of the skylines, it was half of a skyline of New York. Another one was, they did one for New York, and Central Park was 3 blocks shorter than it normally should have been. It's just little things like that if a real person was doing it, even if a real person looked over this, it could be that. But that's the problem with artificial intelligence. From a distance, it looks the way it's supposed to look. It's passable. It's not until you get a closer look that you start to realize the flaws in it. One of the bills Newsom signed requires contracts to specify the use of AI-generated digital replicas of a performance voice or likeness, and the performer must be professionally represented in negotiations in that contract, his office said. That is powerful right there. So there is no situation where you can get strong-armed, right? If you want to use this person's likeness, and they don't have representation, you have to provide it for them. That's powerful. Now the question is, and this is where you get to see the belly of the beast. And this is going to create a subdivision of people who are so struggled or strapped for cash that they'll do whatever it takes to just get in. And the people who hold out if they can hold out long enough, will probably end up better off for it. But in the earlier parts, they might suffer a lot. I don't know what the protections look like for this. And is the union involved enough to make it so that people can't cross the line, the picket line here? You don't want a situation where people are crossing the picket line and doing underbelly stuff to get out ahead of people. The other bill prohibits commercial use of digital replicas of deceased performers in films. This is super important because recently we had that dude make a whole podcast with the comedian, I forget his name, George Carlin. And basically they used his voice, they used his likeness, they used his mannerisms, they just wrote the script. And they called it, oh, this isn't ripping him off. And then George Carlin's estate said, we will sue you so hard, you will wish you were dead too. And they came out, apologized, and deleted it. But furthermore, the response they got to it was appropriate. People were disgusted. I'm perfectly fine with people's estate giving people permission to do it. I think the person that comes to mind immediately, Earl Jones, just passed away. Darth Vader's voice is iconic. I mean, and Darth Vader will continue to exist and permeate time. He's one of those legendary villains that will just permeate throughout time. His voice, his estate will make accommodations for that. Another person I think about is Bruce Willis. James Earl Jones. He passed away. So like his voice becomes super iconic. Bruce Willis with his debilitation and his mental decline, his estate might want to throw him into that same thing because he might want to keep working, but he might not have the ability to do it. We've also seen some success stories. There was a few stories like where like this musician who received vocal cord damage to his larynx because of his cancer had his voice digitized, and now he can make music again. So there are premises where this is allowed. The thing that these AI companies were missing, and the things that I think made this thing kind of yucky, was the lack of involvement of the artist, the consent, the conversation about the ethics. Ethics is super important about this, right? The bill prohibits commercial uses of digital replicas, deceased video games, audiobooks, video games without obtaining consent of those performers. Okay, cool. So for context, more broadly, the rise of AI has fed a host of other concerns, as well as including the fears that it could be used to disrupt democratic processes, turbocharge fraud, and lead to job loss. Democratic U.S. President Joe Biden administration has pressed lawmakers for AI regulation, but the polarized U.S. Congress, where Republicans control the House of Representatives and the Democrats control the Senate, has made little headway in passing effective regulation. Like this is a House and Senate combined that haven't even passed 12 laws, right? They haven't passed 12 laws. They came together to cancel TikTok after the tech center found a way to somehow between Facebook, Instagram, and Google and all of these places, they came together to fund both parties accordingly. And they both came together and said, yeah, let's ban TikTok. But Temu, who hasn't paid any taxes on bills over $800 all last year, not worried about it. That was going to be the story I covered today. Temu making $800. Like, if anything you buy from Temu under $800, they don't get taxed on a certain tax bracket. And Temu has been able to do this because of their cheap products, underselling homemade goods. But no one bats an eye at that, right? In March, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee signed a bill into law aimed to protect artists, including musicians, from unauthorized use of their artificial intelligence. And that's what we need. We have the state's push on this, and that's great. What we need is a federal law that makes this a little bit more amicable, so it can cover and protect U.S. citizens who aren't in states where this is the forefront of their minds. I can see this lagging behind as these tech companies start to get, and more importantly, I think it's cool that this is happening before tech companies can sink their teeth into politicians about not making these laws so. But I think Hollywood, especially being the home of California, Gavin Newsom had an obligation to protect these artists. There's so many artists who get their first breaks because they were in the background of a commercial, or they got a line, a speaking line here, they got seen on this set. And then you think of some of the movies that came out recently where they have literal people standing behind the actors and they're artificial AI generated. Another thing that is a phenomenon that is actually getting pretty weird and actually proving to be a major issue is artificial social media people. Social media people telling other people what to buy and sell, what to buy on the internet. And that's probably, you're like, oh, why is that problematic? Because companies own this social media person, and this social media person doesn't have to disclose that they're not a real, that they're an ad. Their whole gimmick is that they're an ad, but they don't have to disclose that they're not even a real person at this point. And people are gullible. We know that. But just because people are stupid doesn't mean they deserve to suffer, okay? Let's be nice. Let's be nice. But this is a rare win for Gavin Newsom. I'm not gonna hold you. Like, share, subscribe. Tell me what you think.
Get down.
I'll see you guys on the other side.